Hi there, I'm Christine, and you're listening to another episode of Innovative Tac-Tips, where I interview, converse with industry leaders, thought leaders, and just subject matter experts. And today, I have the opportunity to speak with Jamaal Savwoir, and he is now the head of Unified Customer Experience Management of Nextiva. But I want him to tell us a little bit more about what you do, Jamaal. Thank you for coming on, and I have a bunch of questions for you.
Well, thanks, Christine. It's great to see you again. Glad
Yeah,
we've been keeping in touch over the time, over the years, the months,
yeah,
etc. And it's just good to see you. And yeah, I'm happy to be here and talk all about all the things: unified customer experience management, what's happening in Nextiva, what's happening in the world, what's going on in
yeah.
life. So yeah, looking
I
forward to it.
know, I know. What was it like? So I was at Avite. We started back in the day. I don't know, because I feel like 2020 happened, and then all of a sudden, like I blacked out from 2020, like 2020 to maybe 2023. Like 3 years went by so fast, and I was like, wait, hold up, it's 2024. What? So,
Yeah.
you've done a lot in the channel, and even before we met at Avite, you've done a lot for partners. I know we've talked about your history in the past. But what about this industry? What makes your heart sing about it?
You mentioned the partners, and that's really where I found my place in this whole channel ecosystem.
Mhm.
I've worked on the supplier side. I've worked in the TSD space. I've worked in a selling capacity, talking to customers, but as more of a channel partner. So, but the common thread through all of it is people for me. The great thing about where I started in the channel was we went from at a small company, a startup company, reaching out to a local network of dealers or resellers, and then finding out about this amazing grand channel of people, entrepreneurs that are out in front of customers every day. And we said, hey, that's where we need to be. We need to get out of our close knit space of resellers or dealers and connect with more of these folks that used to be called agents. Now they're tech advisors or trusted advisors or strategists. All these different great labels that have been applied to that type of selling. But we needed
Mhm.
to connect with those people. And the great thing about having a product, a service, a solution that fits into so many different types of businesses is you can find the people that get excited about that, and it becomes a win-win-win. A win for the vendor, a win for the agent or the strategist or the advisor, and a win for the customer. So that's really where I found my happy place. My in this
Yeah.
whole ecosystem is connecting with the people, making sure that we're if I'm on the supplier side, making sure we're delivering great products, great solutions, and giving them everything they need to be successful because they're out there every day finding customers that have needs and helping them to get the best solutions.
Yeah, kind of like a surgeon, not like a real surgeon, right? Like, but like a surgeon that like finds obviously the connecting, I guess, dots per se, and like putting it together and saving everyone's like peace of mind. I'll say that you save everyone's peace of mind because at the
Yeah,
end of the day, right? Like time is of the essence, and that's the only thing that you don't get back. And I think what I've
correct.
noticed working with you indirectly, and just on sidelines, right? Like, because I'm not in with the mix of the communications, the platform, the all in one service for customers anymore. I'm kind of removed in a way, right? Like I'm kind of on the like the sideline cheering. It's awesome to see you evolve and see you able to listen and active listen, which is I think it's a skill. I think that's a big skill when
Definitely a
listening to
skill.
partners, listening to their customers, listening to the pain points, just understanding what, because a lot of the times when people complain and stuff like that, it's a symptom of a bigger issue. And I think for you,
Hmm.
you're able to drill down that without hindering the relationship. I think that's a big thing within partner networks and just relationships in general. So I commend you for that. I guess jumping on a different side of the tracks, like when in the past year or 2 years have you invested like that's under $100 that you've invested in that's worthwhile that you found out that like um that really made a difference what you invested in? Basically, it has to be under $100. It could
Hmm.
be, yeah, it could be anything. Is there anything
I,
that
I,
you
I
invested in
mentioned
that's under
two
100?
things. One thing that's kind of like really helped me in my work life, and one thing that's more in my personal life. So there's a software application called Miro, Miro, And it's basically an ideation space, but it has some really cool tools for mind mapping, Kanban boards, sticky notes, just different places where you can have like a big infinite blank canvas and sketch out your ideas, but also organize them. Because I know for creative people, they may have their favorite sketchbook or their favorite way they collect ideas, or for people that are in business strategy or for entrepreneurs. But for me, that tool gave me a number of different ways to visualize what was in my head
Yeah.
and sort of get things. I have I'm a kind of an erratic note taker. Like sometimes I go back to my own notes and like, oh goodness, what did I mean to say there? Because it's
Yeah.
shorthand or something like that. But yeah, this application called Miro, again, Miro. It's an online web app. And yeah, it was very helpful. I was able to, take ideas and figure out what are those other ideas connected to, or, organize things by priority. And I could see everything all in one place. Oh, you know what? This is the stuff that's really like, it's not priority right now. So I can just kind of put that aside. So that was a pretty neat software tool. I used the free version, but then I decided to go ahead and get the paid version of that. So that was pretty cool. The other item is I got a little radar tail light for my road bicycle. So when I'm going down the road, it beeps and alerts when cars are coming up behind me, and I use it on group rides and stuff like that. So, and that was, I don't remember how much it was, but I found it on Amazon. It's from Brighton. It's called the Brighton Guardia. There are lots of manufacturers for those things, but before that, I didn't have one. I just had like a regular like flashing tail light, but the radar tail light is pretty cool.
That is nice, especially late at night. I mean, Minnesota, when I was in Minnesota, like we had bikers downtown Minneapolis, but nothing really in the suburbs. In Utah, there's bikers everywhere. There's bikers everywhere. In the canyons, and the canyons are super narrow sometimes. And so like having that would be, even in the daytime too, like to let, because cars come out of nowhere. They just do, and they do not have mercy at all. They don't have mercy. So that's a really smart thing. Okay, so I guess jumping back to like history wise, is there anything in your life that you invested in, right? Non-monetary, that has made a big impact, like it's been the most memorable and made the biggest impact? Just either it could be career, it could be your personal growth, it could be mental, it could be physical. What has been the most memorable, I guess, investment of time that you've made throughout your journey of life?
I guess in my recent history, it's really been investing in health for myself. I got to about the ripe old age of 35 and looked around at the midsection there, and I was like, I don't want to turn into like a full grown couch potato. So I kind of got back into running. Then I did some of those adventure obstacle course race type things, and I've gotten more and more. I don't know if extreme is the right word, because I'm not like jumping off cliffs or anything, but I went from the Warrior Dash to the Tough Mudder to the Spartan races.
Oh, you're doing Spartan. I heard Spartan's a lot harder than Tough Mudder. I've done the Tough Mudder, but I've not done Spartan. Is there like
the
a
difference for me
main?
was Tough Mudder was much more like, hey, I'll help you out, and Spartan is all like, you go figure it out yourself. So
Okay, well, I'll have to train for that.
The Spartan races were pretty, and I did the there's a sprint, there's a super, and there's a beast, and I've done those three distances. So that was a good investment of my investment in myself, to challenge myself to do some hard things. And my next goal is to do a 70.3 triathlon, which is like a half Ironman.
I mean, I only give you that look because like running, I can do biking, running not so much, like I like to run away from people, but I'll do biking and swimming for sure, hands down. But yeah, that's not for the weary, for sure. That is not. So that's great. Okay, so yeah. And I mean, I'll cheer on the sidelines, right? Like I'll bring a little palm or a little poster board. Kind of going into like kind of more the serious side. I believe failure is giving up, right? Throwing the towel, kind of giving up on your dreams or goals. How has failure or apparent failure set you up later for success? And then do you have a favorite failure? Because kind of complementary to the Spartan and the Tough Mudder, because those are challenging, right? Those are very challenging mentally, physically.
In the business world, there's lots of lots of opportunities for to learn from your not wins. You can call them losses,
Yeah.
failures, whatever you want to call it, but there's not
Mhm.
every time you're going to win, and I'm going to win. So it the I'd say the thing that I don't know if I have a favorite because they all have different levels of distaste. Like but
Yeah.
but in the sales context, when I was in a role where I had to be, not only the educator, the enabler, but I had to also be the seller.
Mhm.
Losing those opportunities, or closed loss, right? I've done everything
Mhm.
I could. I've brought all the right resources. I've answered all the questions. I've put together the best proposal. I've done the best I could on price. I've engaged with the right people,
Mhm.
but you still get that no. Like, that's a hard pill to swallow, but it didn't kill me. It didn't make me jump out and go find some other job or some other role, or quit the industry altogether. So I think
Mhm.
it's kind of, for me, it's kind of like how I approach swimming. It's swimming for me is a constant effort to not quit.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'd say those business losses, where again, I did everything I could. I went back and, hey, what did I miss? What did I not do correctly? And in some instances, I learned, hey, I should have done this earlier, this sooner. Or I should involve more people, or I should have more data, or I should have had a better
Mhm.
proposal. But in those
Mhm.
instances where I knew that I had gone back and done everything that was possible to do correctly and still get the no, it's just that learning to persevere, learning to keep going. Hey, you got to get up and fight again. So but again, it's hard to call those favorite failures, because you still have that bad
Oh,
taste in
yeah,
your
there's still trauma from that, right? There's still trauma.
like,
You're like you
uh,
kind of like you get in a circumstance and you're like, "Oh, is this what it was like last time?" And you're like, "No, no, it's not. It's different.
right,
This is a different
right,
person, different situation."
different,
But
yeah.
yeah, I hear you. So there was not like a specific failure that comes to mind. I guess maybe they're all your favorite. We could say they're all your favorite because they've set you up later for success
Yeah,
because
you
now
learn
it's
you
like you
learn you learn a
understand.
little something from each
Yeah.
one, and you try not to,
Mhm.
you try to make corrections. Sometimes it takes a couple of lessons to figure out how to dial it in or tweak it or whatever, but you keep
Mhm.
learning, you keep going.
I think what the best advice, I don't know who I can't coin it myself, but you always chase the no's, right? Not the yeses, because the no's are going to teach you how to get the yeses. I don't
Yep.
like the word no, but I like a good challenge. And so whenever I get the no, I like to drill down on it, right? I think
Mhm.
that comes from, I don't know, maybe just like when I was little, I would go to every pew in church and say hello to everyone. So I've always been kind of that unique character. So I've always, when people tell me no, I'm like, what? That was nice. What is going on? Like, what are you doing? So I hear you on the whole, like, it gives you kind of a different perspective of like, okay, well, I thought that was going to go real well. This did
Yeah,
not go the direction I thought it was going to be.
yeah.
Um, so I guess with that, right, things that you learn, I like books. I like audiobooks. I like to learn. I like to, obviously, I started this podcast, right, to interview different walks of life, different people with different stories. I believe like leadership is not just a title, it's a way of life, and executives are
Yeah.
not light fixtures. You just don't turn them on, and they're people too. And
Oh yeah. Hmm.
with that, right, with growth, are there three books that have really greatly influenced your life? And then is there any book of like, it could be a different book too that you've given most as a gift?
What books have I've given a couple of Malcolm Gladwell books as gifts. A friend of mine by the name of Hang Black wrote a book that I gave as a gift. I gave a gift by Molly Bloom from the Molly's Game movie. I don't know if you've seen that movie or not, but I gave her book as a gift. So I've given a couple of different books as gifts. I don't know if I have a favorite, but as far as things that I've read recently that are impactful, there's one book called Big Little Breakthroughs by Josh Linkner, and Raise Your Game by Alan Stein. They're two very different books, but it was from both of those books. I just got ideas about more about leveraging creativity, and understanding that big innovations don't always happen in you see the end result, right? SpaceX lands a rocket on some chopsticks, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Like,
there's
yes.
1,012,
Yeah.
different little innovations that happen along the way that make the big innovation possible. So
Hmm.
that was a nice. It was nice to see the examples of using creativity in different ways to get those incremental wins that build up to some big wins. So that was the big little breakthroughs. And then I like sports, but it's always great to hear from people that are professional performance management people about, hey, what does it look like to actually make improvements and be better than you were yesterday? So that Raise Your Game book by Alan Stein Jr. was really cool to just think about the process of improvement. It's not again, none of these things happen all at once. You don't just wake up tomorrow
Hmm.
and you're the best at everything or
No,
you're the
it's
most
a,
successful,
yeah,
right?
no,
It's all progression.
yeah. No, Jamie Beckler is, I'm interviewing him. He used to be an AD and a basketball coach for a long time, and he's a motivational speaker and wrote 5 books. I'm excited to pick his brain because he's a John Maxwell. I think he got certified under his program, which I like John Maxwell a lot, which is kind of to your point about how being a leader, having leadership qualities, you don't get that overnight. You just don't go to a conference and you're like, woo, I'm a leader now. You're like, right? Like I passed the test, got that, but it's like a continuous, right? Like it's a daily, it's a mindset. And but yeah, that's really cool. I have a couple. I really love Tools of Titans. If people are like in a really short bind and they want quick little like
Mm.
insights, so Tim Ferriss. I don't know. Have you heard of it? He's a podcast.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
He so they're like have you heard? So he interviews basically a bunch of startup entrepreneurs, world class
Yeah.
performers, and it's like basically small advice, um, different advice. Kind of like it kind of was a little bit of the catalyst of my podcast because it's like he's interviewing people that have done really great things,
Mm.
that can offer practical insider advice where people can apply today instead of like, oh, I'm gonna train for a half triathlon or like, you know what I mean, or a Spartan race. So it's like you gotta take a lot of time. Like you could be like the best in shape, but you need a little bit of training for that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit. So this is I really, there's a couple other books too, but this is a book that I always am like this. I mean, I could go back to it and reference it too. Um, but yeah, and like it goes through like real life MBAs. Anyway, not to go down that rabbit hole of this book, but yeah, to your point, it's like leadership is really important, and to rise above it and to move forward in progress is a big thing.
Yeah.
I guess if you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with a message, it could be a paragraph or an emoji or something. What would you put on it if it could reach, let's say, the whole world? If you could reach the whole world, which is a lot of people, what would it say?
Yeah. The first thing that honestly comes to mind is 2 words: choose kindness. Choose kindness, because I'm one of those people that I don't spend a lot of time on social media, and when I do, it's like for somebody's birthday or something like that. I'll say hello or whatever. But if I'm there 30 seconds, it's like complaining about this or arguing about that or yelling about this. It's like, so I would say that it's much better. I much rather interact with people in this kind of forum or small groups or large crowds or whatever, but face to face, because you can see people's faces. They're not anonymous. They're not like just shouting into the void. But I had a conversation with somebody a while back about different things that were happening in the world, and the concept of microaggressions came up, where it's like, hey, like people just find ways to take a shot at somebody or throw an elbow or be derogatory or say something. And I think there's an opportunity for everybody, no matter what side of whatever aisle or issue you're on. Is to just, hey, choose to be kind, right? Choose to, if you have a difference of opinion, that doesn't mean you have to be a jerk about
Oh,
it.
oh,
So
no, yeah,
that's what
yeah,
comes to mind if I
yeah,
had a big billboard, to put out there.
yeah,
Choose kindness, and maybe the other billboard might say be intentional. Like you
yeah,
don't let things happen by accident. Take your point of
yeah.
view, your positivity, and be intentional about how you put yourself out there in the world.
Well, I guess this next question, which I agree, like, I think kindness is is a talent too. Like, you got to work on it every day. Like, no one wants to wake up and be like, yes, I want to be nice to a jerk. That is what I wanted. Or like the people that don't put their cart back in the grocery parking lot. That is, we're talking about trauma here. I want to be like, I'm sorry, your cart's here. Please put it back. It's right here. Put it back. Anyways, not to throw like, not to go down that therapy rabbit hole. But yeah, trauma over here. If you starting out, right, thinking about people who can be self-serving, right, and say things that you're like, oh, that came out of your mouth today. Okay, you want to choose violence? What, when you first start your career, what advice would you give you now that you've learned to help, not like change anything, but help refine or help make situations or things that you've been through a lot smoother or more productive? What advice would you give your younger self going into career world?
I think I've been lucky, fortunate, blessed, all those things as far as like the progression of my career.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are times when I've been, like way too impatient and way too kind of like, I don't know if impulsive is the right word, but just like missing that part of the analysis that would have made me help me make a better choice. So, but I also think that you have to have some level of ambition. You have to have some level of self determination, and you gotta strive for things. You got to have stretch goals. You got to reach. So if I had to give my younger self advice, it'd probably be to
Mm-hmm.
continuously look for that balance. Like
Mm-hmm.
definitely put yourself out there. Definitely try new things. Definitely reach higher. Definitely you know think about what you want to do next, and don't plateau or get stuck. But also like you know think about when it's time to slow your roll, because
Yeah, like
you
okay, if I
just
use
you can over
profanity, will
rotate
this
on that,
go?
like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. If I use profanity, will this move the needle a bit? Probably not. So let's really think about what words can we use, or like even actions, right? Like if I, let's say if I open a door, if I like do a small favor for someone, will that? And again, at the end of the day, it's like you should do that without expectations. But sometimes with the business world, right, we get into that habit of
Yeah,
reciprocity where it's like I do something for you, you do something back. Like that, people want to do that, right? They want to
yeah,
give
yeah.
back what the other person gives, and it's just like really think about okay. And also, like I made a joke the other day, like back and forth email, and I was reading this email and I assumed how it was written, right? Could have
Hmm.
left it, could have left and went to go touch grass, come back, but I, responded very firmly. But not probably the best decision I could have made, but here we are. We pushed through, but yeah, just making sure like when you read something, understanding the context, or like, okay, did they really mean to say it in those? Anyways, I think yeah,
Yeah.
communication, how you interpret things, like you said, it's like really think about even outside of communication too. Like if I do a Spartan race, okay, what do I need to do to prepare for that, right? Like what are the
Yeah.
actions? What are all that stuff? So I think
Yeah,
that that's good
you're
advice
really
because
good at
it's
running and jumping, but you got no grip strength. You're gonna fail. You gotta
yeah,
there's
yeah. Oh my
a
gosh.
lot of
Oh
different
man.
places you gotta
There's
work
so
on.
much. There's so many stories on
But
that one
let's
for
say
the
one
Tough
more
Mudder.
thing that
Yeah.
when I think about the different roles I've been in throughout my from my
Mm-hmm.
early kind of like quasi professional career to where I really got into a professional career, and I really started thinking about leadership, management, tasks, strategies, all those kind of things, is I really gained a great appreciation for the larger team, and appreciating my team members' contributions and what they're doing, because I've been in a lot of roles where I'm not the director, manager, supervisor of people that are in different departments, but I need all those departments to function for my job to work. So appreciating, what their daily challenges might be, or how we need to present their information to somebody that's, outside of the company, or different things like that. Like those have really been valuable thought processes and valuable, moments to say, wait a minute, like there's a whole team here. There's a lot of different people that are involved that are trying to do their best to do their job, but it's all about how it all fits together. So
Yeah.
Having that appreciation for the contribution of multiple team members is really something I think is important.
Oh yeah, and then telling them that too. I think a lot of the
Oh
times we
yeah.
get so caught up in like just being like I appreciate like and also like being proactive, right? Too. I think with sometimes with cross-functional team members, they're like, okay, well, this is my task. I'm just gonna do it. But it's like if you can be proactive and like assume what they like what helps them in the end, I think
So
that
all
that's a
connected.
big thing too, right? Yeah, so because it's like if you can assume, okay, well, this is what I would like, so do what they asked, and then also be like, oh, and I did this too, which helps them breathe easier. I think that goes way farther in the end, and people row the same direction, and it's a well-oiled machine, right? Like, and everyone feels like they're contributing in a way where there's actually impact versus, okay, here's my checkbox, here's what I need to do. Like, it's very impersonal. And to your point, it's like if you guys can cross-functionally work together where you're having a great, not bond, but like just a good rapport with each other, I think that goes a long way in a
Yep.
even in a small organization, I think. So
Mhm.
yeah. What are people what are people generally surprised to find out about you?
Trying to think.
Yeah.
um, that's a good.
I think that you
You
live in the
just
South, that
stumped
you
me.
live in
Yeah.
Florida. I think that because yeah, I'll say it. I'll say it. I know. I'll say it. I'm just kidding. You can answer it.
Yeah,
But
no, I have met people that think, oh, I thought you were in Chicago or New York or California or like, somewhere else. And like, no, I'm in Florida. But again, fortunate, blessed, lucky to be able to, have this job send me all over the place and this industry send me all over the place, but maybe that just speaks to, I made good connections with people. So they think I'm a local.
yeah, I mean, I'm from Minnesota, and people are like, I can't tell. And I was like, oh, sure, yeah, okay, I'll talk you a little Minnesota accent. A couple more questions. Just for people that are kind of um trying to progress into a leadership role. When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or lost your focus temporarily, what do you do? What questions do you ask yourself to not
um,
get overwhelmed?
I do get into those modes where just too in my own head, like spun up with all kinds of different things that are usually competing priorities or things that I feel like I should do better at or I'm trying to satisfy multiple different stakeholders or requests or what have you. But over the last year or so, I've taken to just stop, take a 15-minute break, go outside, walk around, breathe a little bit, like just because you can't, some of those
Yeah.
things that I just can't fight through the chaos in my own head, so it's definitely taking that pause, slowing down a little bit, thinking about a little bit of a reset has been
Mm-hmm.
helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when there's just so much going on, work is only one part of the chaos. You got family and social
Yeah.
and all
Yeah,
these
you
other
have a
areas in
family.
your life.
That's a whole
Yeah,
different prioritizing and school choir. I don't know if your kids are in choir, but like just like
actually, I have
events
two
and
kids in
sporting
choir.
events, right? Like I'm just like what I mean. It's like you have that plus big events and all. It's just like
Mhm.
I look at that. I'm like, holy cow!
Yeah.
Parents are superheroes, right? And then you've got like their emotional well-being, making sure they're mentally like they're strong, right? Because kids these days growing in this age of like Snapchat and TikTok and like all of that
They've
stuff.
got a
It's like
lot of influences. My influences
yeah,
were
they've got a
usually people that my parents could say, no, you can't go play with that person. But now those people are like right there on your phone.
yeah. You don't even have to leave the house, right? You could just be
Right.
like you could just like scroll and just be like, oh yeah, that's not yeah. Yeah. Um, I guess another question on kind of the improvement side. What are bad recommendations you hear in your profession or area of expertise, and how can you help people hear that so they can realign kind of their what people are giving? So like let's
Bad
say
recommendations.
yeah, or
I
like
have so
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have a favorite failure, but I have a favorite bad recommendation that I hate the most. And
Ooh,
this may sound funny, but I am like deathly allergic to wash, rinse, repeat. That's the thing that I hate the most. Is like, sure, that may have worked over there, but does it really? copy and paste on top of this exact situation, you're going to get the same results? No. Put any other colorful, flavorful word in front of no that you want, and it's a blank no. Like those that I hate that, because even if it's a model that worked, you still have to think about, okay, what's different here? Like what's the tweak that's going to make it fit this group or fit this message or fit this opportunity? So that's what because I feel to me it feels lazy. So I'm anti
Yeah.
laziness.
Oh, yeah. I
I'm
mean,
anti Wall Street
well,
people.
it's kind of the saying of like we've always done it this way, and I was like, what are we back in like the Flintstone age? What are we using our feet to like get the engine going? Like no, like we have an engine right now. Like innovation is here. Also, like don't be scared of innovation. Innovation is actually a good thing because it helps you. It's like the sidekick to like when you said the application that helps you like kind of coordinate and organize where your thoughts are, right? Like
Yeah.
that's huge. Like it helps you make quicker decisions in like your left and right brain. Like yeah, you got to use both of it, and sometimes you use one of like I think I'm more of a right brain. I use more of my creative side than I mean I'm very can be analytical. I don't like go with that, but yeah, very analytical, right? Analyze like data and analyze a lot of things, but like digest that into a narrative or into a bigger story. I think people don't understand that it's just not a copy and paste. Like, okay, let's
Yeah.
take this coding and put it in here. Like it's not like machine learning, right? Like you're not like putting in something and getting the answer. Like you got to look over it and be like, that is not the right. You know what I mean? Like
But
it's you just gotta
sometimes
yeah.
it's a 99% fit, but the 1% is why you're going to stand out, and the
Oh,
75 other people that are copy pasting are going to get forgotten about because that it's different. The differences matter. So
right. What if people? It's all because you said people too. Sometimes people like I blindside, right? I assume people know things. It's kind of like there's people that don't assume. Like people have the opposite where they're like they don't know anything. Well, I'm like, well, they are smart individual. They know enough, right? But it's like a lot of people might not encounter a situation or a campaign or a device or you know what I mean, all the above. And so it's like you have to like baseline, right? Get on the same page, right? And then from there, yeah, I think there's so many ways, so many pathways in your brain you can create, you can
at
improve things. So
least if you kind of lean away from watch and repeat, at least you ask the question, right? You ask the question, what's different here? If it's nothing, what did I miss? Because you probably missed something. Yeah, okay, I found the
yeah.
one thing that's different. It matters a lot, or it matters a little bit, but at least I paid attention, right? I just feel like that's where greatness happens, is when you pay attention to the differences.
Oh, to the details, to notice. It's yeah. Um, Yeah, I almost roll my eyes sometimes when I see campaigns. I'm like, yeah, you can reuse campaigns because it's good to like retarget people on the marketing side per se, but
Mhm.
you also want to know who your audience is, right? Like, who are you talking to? Who is this to? And you're not
Audiences
talking to
change. Audiences
you're
change
not in
over
the
time.
echo chamber. You're not in one of my big okay, but when you're talking to your competitors or you're talking like talk to people outside the bubble, talk to people outside of the industry because that's your target audience, right? Like push through that.
Yeah.
Anyways, not to go down. We're having a little therapy session for me too here. But anyways, what are you cooking up behind the scenes? Is there anything that people can keep their eye out for that it could be obviously you're training for triathlon, it could be personal, it could be you're
Yeah.
going to be on American Idol, I don't know, but it could be I don't, I don't know.
I'm really excited about being here at Nextiva. Great people, and that's the main reason why I was attracted to this organization, was the people, the channel team, the product team, the sales team, our people in solutions delivery. Like it's a great organization, great people. And there's some really exciting things that we're doing with the product, with the platform. We're expanding into other market areas, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be here right now, and I think that's going to allow me to leverage, my skill set, allow me to, take full advantage of my capabilities around reaching out to people and connecting with people that are every day trying to solve business problems for customers. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye on what Nextiva is doing. There's a great team of channel folks out there engaging with partners every day. We'll be at some great events. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve for 2025 that I won't necessarily divulge those right now, but I'm working with some great folks in event marketing and all sorts of things to put together an awesome calendar. So yeah, we'll be here.
Well, good. Is there for people that are not in the industry that want to learn more about your background and just if they have questions or need advice or need, I don't know, maybe as a sounding board, where can people find out more about you and what you do for a living?
Most of my engagement is on LinkedIn. I may
Mhm.
spin up. I dabbled in a little bit of a like an Instagram channel around customer experience. So that's one of the things I'm kind of rebuilding there is to do more posting and just conversations about CX. That is a great place to look at for just brands, businesses, solutions, products, and how they engage with their consumers, with their audiences. So
Mhm.
there's a lot to discuss there. There's a lot of opportunity to talk about what's working, what's not working. There's some marketing stuff that happens with CX. There's some business process stuff that happens with CX. There are lots
Mhm.
of tools and lots of artificial intelligence capabilities that are available now. So I
Mhm.
really enjoy that conversation. So definitely LinkedIn is a good place to connect with me, message me directly, send me an invitation, what have you.
Call me,
And
beat me if you want
yeah,
to reach me.
yeah,
All
love
looking
to connect with
possible.
more
Just
folks.
kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I use Kim Possible. Anyways, I haven't quit my day job, everyone. I'm like, I think I'm funny sometimes. Anyways, thank you, Jamaal. And I will see you probably sooner rather than later. So I appreciate it and congratulations
Yeah,
again.
that'd be awesome. Thank you very much.